I'm Peter Schaknat, Managing Director of Schaknat Electronic GmbH, and today we're optimizing a Scania R520. A quick overview of today's agenda. Today we have an EKB in a Scania R520 from Greece here. A very nice EKB also on the inside. The customer visited us today. Today we will equip it with a MyGenius. As you know, we have the app for Apple devices, the Schaknat app, and everything we do for customers who use Android devices, we also have the MyGenius. So we will do the input measurement, optimize it with the MyGenius. This is a device that will stay with the customer, so this device remains with the customer, and I will provide the customer with training. We will also briefly show, when we demonstrate it to the customer, the flash processes. Here on the MyGenius, I can flash several software versions. This way, the customer can decide for themselves how they want to flash the software versions back and forth. And then I would say, let's start the initial measurement now. My colleague Andre will now unstrap the truck again. Where is Andre? So, we're measuring again in four-wheel drive. As you can see here, we're operating the front axle. Again, using hydraulics. Andre is now strapping it down for me at the back and at the front so that it runs straight in the lane. Then we'll use the hydraulic cylinder below to pull it down again with 60 to 80 bar so that we have traction. The Accuracies R520 is a Euro 6, specifically a Euro 6A engine, the DC16 V8, so 520 horsepower, 2,700 Newton meters of original torque. The truck already has 800,000 kilometers on it. As I said, this is the old V8 series. I'm really curious myself to see what we'll measure in the initial test with 800,000 kilometers. We might also take another look at all the pressures, the particulate filter, differential pressure sensors, EGR, and check the whole system again to make sure it's really 100% technically sound. But we'll also see that right away in the initial measurement. The 520s are always pretty much at their standard output. If we notice anything during the initial measurement, we'll run a diagnostic beforehand as well. And we'll always talk to the customer as well. All right, then we'll read it out with the MyGenius, just like we said earlier. Someone else is unstrapping, and I'll go ahead to the OBD and start reading out the vehicle. Now we're going to read out the truck again here. I can see again how everything is being done tip-top. Nice here, the Greek flag on an air freshener. That's pretty cool too. The old Streamlines have their OBD connector here. For customers who don't know, you can see it up here. I've already unpacked the device once. There's always the MyGenius itself and the OBD connector that goes with it. We'll plug it in here. Now we're logging the file. A significant advantage of the MyGenius device is that you can use the device itself to clear out any existing error codes. As I said, we can put several versions on it. The only thing we can't do, and this is the difference compared to the app, is the transmission tuning. We have to do the transmission tuning separately. But in this case, that doesn't matter. As long as the trucks don't get major software updates, it's basically enough if we've matched it via the engine update. So, now I'm just following what the device does. Now I'm querying the ID. Now the ignition is on. I'm logging the IT year, then I get the original software version from the laptop or from my server, depending on where I need to read it from. Then we always go and discuss with the customer individually what they want. The customer made it very clear that due to the high fuel prices, both in Germany and Greece, where we now also operate, it's important to him that the car is as fuel efficient as possible. You know yourselves, the 520s are known for consuming a lot of fuel and not having good performance. But as I said, that's exactly where we want to start. I would take a look at the peak power. The engine comes as the DC16 V8 and DC16 V8 up to the 730 model. It's the same block and the same pistons as well. As I said, in terms of power and torque, we have room to go higher. But like I said, I would just add about 80 to 100 more horsepower. Adjust the transmission accordingly, and then the cars will also run perfectly in terms of fuel consumption. Alright, then let's do it that way. We'll do the initial measurement and the other guy will do it as well. And then we'll see our screen during the initial measurement. The other employee has now done the initial measurement. You can see it here again. Let's quickly go up for a moment. 520 original with 2,700 Newton meters and 520 horsepower, which is what it should actually have. You can see it here with 800,000 kilometers. The values here are 2,700 and 518. So that's really perfect. There's really nothing else you can say. I mean, that's just brutally simple. Given the mileage, you still have to factor in injectors and everything else. It's simply gigantic. So for us, for the baseline measurement, for the optimization, it's obviously ideal because I can see I have a 100% correct car. Because if we get such perfect measurements 3 times in a row on the first 3 runs, I just want to quickly show you again. You can see down here the lower curve here. This here is the torque curve again, and here is the torque axis. So you can see his maximum torque here again. He reaches it relatively early at 1,000, and it actually goes up to 1,300. Then it drops off relatively quickly. And that's especially the case in the mountains, because if I tell him when it drops down to 1,300 and you shift down and then you're at 1,500 or 1,600, that's where the torque is missing. So we always try to make sure that we pull it down earlier and longer here so that the maximum torque simply lasts longer. That way we have torque available in every RPM range, which makes it easier to drive the truck. Even when I have to shift down again while driving in the mountains, it can still pull through quite well in that gear, and I don't have to downshift a second time. In the end, that's also what ultimately saves on general wear. It saves transmission wear specifically, and as I have said, it also saves wear and tear from high engine speed and revolutions. Alright then, I'm going to go ahead and do the software now. As I mentioned, primarily an eco version, but I'll still put 2 versions on the MyGenius for the customer. One is a power variant, and the other is an eco variant. Now let's take a look from the side to see how it works for us. Then we'll measure both right away. The standard version really gives you about 80 to 100 more horsepower. We'll take a look at that in the baseline measurement. And then we'll go straight to the equi and flash it right away. The datasets are now on the device. I've just started my first dataset. Now we'll flash it once. You can see here I removed the OBD plug via the light switch again. That way you can reach the plug more easily in case the contacts in the back are damaged. Then you can get to it better and plug me back in here. Alright, so now you can see it again right here on the device. Basically, the device is telling me absolutely everything that I need to do. Now we are going to go to work, and then from there over to write, and here we only have under tool. We can also clear error codes. Raise error codes, meaning clear error codes. I set that up in English for the customer. You can also change the language, that's no problem. Now we go to write here. Now we can see the file right here. It's called mode 620, and that is how we usually name it on the internet for the performance class. After that, it opens the file. Here it now says, for example, attention for correct protocol function. So that's what it's for. Should you connect a charger to the battery? It is simply about not flashing the system when there is an undervoltage condition. So in other words, if the truck will not start at minus 10 degrees or is only barely starting, you absolutely should not plug this device in and flash over it. This is simply a safety notification to ensure the correct flashing voltage. We can skip that, then it tells you to turn on the ignition, so you go ahead and turn on the ignition and continue by pressing the OK button. Basically, you just have to carefully follow what the device tells you to do. For the next step in this procedure, the system is going to give you that same instruction one more time. It will tell you to go ahead and turn on the vehicle's ignition. Now it asks again whether to write partially or completely. For us, the partial areas, the map changes are sufficient. If you do a full write, it writes the entire dump, which is not relevant for us. We really only write the partial section. That's what we're going to select now. Now it's communicating with the control unit. Here it's simply important not to turn off the ignition, not to do anything silly, just let the device finish writing. Because as with anything, if it hasn't written completely, the truck won't start afterwards. That's always important. It just needs to have written through once, and the checksum must be written as well. And only then will the truck start. The writing process for partial areas takes about a minute. The writing process for a complete write takes about 20 minutes. So as you can see, that's obviously a big difference, but for our purposes, it's enough to just write the partial areas. You can see it takes about a minute, so that's actually great, because you can quickly switch between data states if you want to change something. For example, if you get updates at the workshop, you can first restore the original and then reload your own software afterwards. That's also a big advantage, because then people, especially customers coming from abroad, don't have to be here in person. They don't always have to come here, but can do it on the go instead. Now you see here, as I said before, turn off the ignition. So let's do that now. The system requires the ignition to be on again. To check whether it programmed everything properly, whether the control unit responds, whether all conversion numbers and software numbers are there, and if everything is still 100% correct. And as you can see, the control unit was programmed correctly. Then it does another data log for us, just in case something goes wrong during the writing process. And if that's the case, we can then disconnect everything and do the baseline measurement again. Then I would say we'll see each other again at the monitor after the baseline measurement. We've now done the baseline measurement with MyGenius using both software versions. This is Nick from SafeTrans in Greece. I'm going to show you here now. And for you as well, Nick, you can actually very clearly see your original performance curve, which is located right down here. This is your original torque wheel. Then, as I told you, we're making two torque curves, one for eco. This here is the eco curve. You can see here it has 3,000 Newton meters and 622 horsepower. Then we have an even stronger version, because the engine is the same with 580 horsepower. Here we have 3,152 again, so that's 150 Newton meters and 656 horsepower. Perfect. That's the really great thing about the MyGenius device. You can easily change the software settings all by yourself. As I mentioned, this way you can check for yourself while you're on the go which specific software setting ultimately suits you best, with which power level, with which software setting you get the best fuel efficiency. We'll now adapt the transmission at the end. We'll fine-tune it. I hope you're satisfied with the result. It's good. It's great. Very good. Thank you very much then. Thank you. Thanks. We've now reached the end of our video about optimizing the Scania R520. I saw it again today. It was really spot on. Initial measurement, final measurement. I was really pleased. The Scania is really a huge amount of fun for me. I was also incredibly happy to have a visitor all the way from Greece in the shop today. And as always, for my loyal customers, you all know our wonderful friends Hugo Tofbaime. You'll get them too, of course. So I have to ask, are you happy?
Happy. Thank you very much, Peter. To all the customers and the entire team, thank you for the great work. The shop is perfect, and we felt very welcome here in Germany. Be well. Thank you very much.
If you're particularly interested in this topic regarding our optimization of the Scania R, we invite you to check out our website at schaknat.de. And as you can see, we are proud to work with a wide range of international customers, whether they're Greek, Bulgarian, or from anywhere else in the world. We have a strong presence in the Czech Republic or in Switzerland, or with Austrians. So as I said, feel free to give us a call. We also have people who speak good English, though I personally don't speak it that well, unfortunately, but feel free to call, send a WhatsApp message, or write an email. Email always works well for this kind of thing. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Thank you.